the case that we have involving the Colorado Secretary of State removing candidates from ballots because she doesn't like them, or Maine, as happened last week, is now at the Supreme Court. So let me give you a time frame of possibilities here. So we filed our petition for certiorari and motion for expedited review last Wednesday and Thursday. The respondents, which is the law firm is CREW, that's the public interest group that's representing the people that filed the suit to try to get Trump off the ballot, responded the next day, and they said that they are going to respond to us today. So we're expecting a response on the petition for certiorari and a motion for expedited review today from them. There's also, the thought is that the Trump campaign, which is not yet filed at the Supreme Court, will be filing today. That's expected, and a motion to expedite as well. So, Andy, this case is already going to go out of the normal zone of response, because if this was the normal case, folks, it would not be argued until this coming October, which would be weeks before the general election. That won't happen. I mean, it's going to move much, much quicker. How quick, we're still looking at, but this is out of the normal flow right now.
This is not the garden variety Supreme Court case. This is a case that involves the national interest, and it can create national havoc unless the Supreme Court comes in here and makes a decision with respect to whether President Trump can or should remain on the ballot in these various states. And it is a recipe for national disaster if the Supreme Court does not take it. That's why I think the Supreme Court will take the case.
When we first filed, even the coverage on the groups that are left of center said we were right, or they were at least factual. This is what it. But now the other's going to start, and then when Trump filed, you know it's going to be a pile-on, and then the other side's got to respond. And this thing, so if they do this in record speed, which I anticipate they will, and we win, you know what the other side's going to say? Supreme Court was involved in election interference. That's exactly what will be coming out of the left. Mark my words. But I'm looking at the schedule, Logan, and I'm telling you, we've got a document we're going to have to respond to today, so we'll have to file it tomorrow. Then Trump's petition's coming in, and if they file a motion to expedite, that'll be coming in. So I'm looking between what's today, the 2nd and the 5th. And then it could go to conference as early as the 5th. I just checked the docket. It has not been distributed yet, but they're just back today. So, folks, this is moving at record-breaking speed. But what we've got to do here is maintain cool, calm, collected process to not let this get out of control. And the Supreme Court needs to issue, which they will, an order and a rule that says this is what each party does. Everybody needs to abide by that and file the briefs, and then the Supreme Court's going to make a decision. I looked at the date. They requested January 19th for oral argument. This is the lawyers for the Anderson respondents, which is CREW. That's on a Friday. They don't usually hear cases on Friday. That's a conference day. It could be specially set, but I think the normal rules here, Andy, are out the window. They can
abbreviate the briefing scheduling. They can eliminate oral argument. They can summarily reverse the Colorado Supreme Court. There is anything that basically the Supreme Court can do what it chooses to do, and it can not hear this case. I don't think that will happen, but I think what's going to happen is they are going to move with a rapidity we have never seen before. Because why? The nation's moral fabric and national unity is at stake.
David Axelrod, a CNN commentator, former Obama official, very well-respected political commentator. He had an interesting take on this. Let's go ahead and listen.
Presumably the Supreme Court will deal with it fairly quickly, and I expect that they will leave him on the ballot. And yes, Brianna, I have very, very strong reservations about all of this. I do think it would rip the country apart if he were actually prevented from running, because tens of millions of people want to vote for him. I think if you're going to beat Donald Trump, you're going to probably have to do it at the polls.
David Axelrod's exactly correct. If I want the country to calm down for the election here and make sure the laws are applied, they haven't been with this Colorado decision and the rogue Secretary of State in Maine. But we've got to be cool, calm, and collected about this as the lawyers, because we've got to get a result, and we've got to get it quickly here. And where he's right, you remove this guy from the ballot, in these states, you are adding to the chaos.
What you're doing is you're throwing a bomb into an already great conflagration and putting the sun on fire even more. You don't do that. 70 million people voted for President Trump, I think, in the election, 75 million, whatever it was. And you're telling these people you can't vote for him anymore because some Secretary of State in Maine said that he's an insurrectionist because she concluded on her own little mini jury trial the people of Maine can't vote for him, or the people of Colorado can't vote for him, or another state. You are dividing the country worse than it has ever been divided. And I'm not a fan of David Axelrod, but he's an astute political analyst. And I think what he said is true. You would rip the country apart if he were prevented from running and being on the ballot.
I said this the first day this case came up. And the reason we moved so quickly to get it to the Supreme Court is if we lose the right to vote for the candidate of our choice, this is like Logan said, whether you're for Trump or against Trump or for Biden, it doesn't matter. If a Secretary of State could do this, we have put the entire constitutional republic in jeopardy. And then you're not going to have to worry about freedom of speech or freedom of religion or free exercise of religion because you're not going to have the right to vote, or it's not going to matter unless the state tells you who you're voting for.